Hi, this is Dr. Joe Luciani. I'm a psychologist and author of self-coaching series of books. You know, we find ourselves in the Crestkill community in the worst hit COVID-19 county in New Jersey. Governor Murphy has announced a 30-day extension of our quarantine. And for many people, not just in New Jersey, household conflict and friction are beginning to become real issues. Husbands and wives squabbling over otherwise silly things, teens wanting to see friends, children complaining of boredom, elderly parents and grandparents becoming more demanding. Yeah, the pot of confinement is beginning to boil over. So what do we do? Well, here's a simple self-coaching practice that will ensure your family's ongoing sanity. When you find yourself in a tussle and you feel your blood pressure beginning to rise, keep in mind that what you're feeling is what's called a bottom-up response. And that's an immediate, visceral response to something we perceive to be threatening. Bottom-up refers to the lower, more primitive parts of your brain. So when you're attacked by a family member, all you do is sit and watch TV. Why don't you get up and help with the dishes? Your bottom-up brain spontaneously begins to dump stress hormones, adrenaline, and cortisol into your bloodstream. You may notice your heart pounding faster, maybe your muscles tightening, and your breath quickening. You're now primed and ready to snap back and defend yourself. It's at this point that you need to initiate a bottom-up intervention. But first, let's take a look at another concept, the top-down response. Okay, now let's assume you're that TV watching partner criticized just a moment ago. You're feeling threatened, wired, and you're about to snap. But understand that whether or not you snap is not a fait accompli. You do have another option. You could get a grip on your visceral reaction and reverse engineer the conflict, insisting on a healthier response that leads to relationship resolution. Simply put, you have a choice. But wait, when you're riding that defensive wave of, oh yeah, don't tell me what to do, it feels like that bottom-up part of your brain has taken over, which isn't entirely false. You see, once you eliminate rational thinking, your more primitive fight-flight instinct is leading the fray. Your more rational thinking is forgotten. So the key is to learn to shut down the bottom-up reactivity. And here's how. Bottom-up emotions, like the heart-stopping moment the car in front of you slams on the brakes, that occurs without any cognition. Now, if you had to think about hitting the brake pedal, you'd probably crash into the car in front of you. Your reaction is non-thinking and immediate, and that's useful on the road. But clearly, this reaction is not going to bode well during a relationship conflict where both partners are firing off bottom-up emotions. All right, so how do we mitigate these emotional time bombs? And the answer is bottom-up interventions. We must first quiet down the fight-flight mechanism. So in the heat of a moment, perhaps the single best way that you could proceed would be a physical way, to put your hand on your belly. Breathe in deeply and slowly from your nose, feeling your belly push out against your hand. Hold that breath for a second and then slowly release the breath, feeling your hand push against your belly. Do this 2 or 3 times, as much as needed. This is a simple intervention, and it's enough to switch your parasympathetic, that's your fight-flight nervous system, to sympathetic nervous system, that's the relaxed system. Now, once this happens, you're ready to allow your thinking brain, that's the top-down brain, to make a more rational decision on how you want to respond. Still feeling defensive and unjustly picked on? Okay, then try this. Once your top-down thinking brain is liberated, you're going to mentally plant yourself in your partner's shoes. And then you ask yourself, why is my partner so frustrated with me? Answer, Because I'm relaxing watching TV and not helping out. Aha. So now you understand. Easy peasy, right? Well, not quite. You see, once you have a cognitive solution, next you'll have to follow through. Understanding alone, as important as it may be, won't solve most problems. Responsible actions will. Actions that may involve becoming more tolerant, less negative, and more compassionate. Now that you have an objective, depersonalized view, which you found by putting yourself in your partner's shoes, you're ready to say, okay, you're right. Let me pause this program and help you out. So one more thing. Bottom-up, top-down interventions will solve most relationship conflicts, but only if everyone is employing this strategy. So you might discuss this idea with your family members and agree to use this approach. Whether it's marital conflict, teenage rebelliousness, childish boredom, or grandpop's obstinate demand to go to the hardware store. This strategy is perhaps the single best way to minimize, if not eliminate, relationship stress during this confinement. Remember, calm down the raw emotions of defensiveness. Then put yourself in the other person's shoes, and then respond in a more insightful way. Other top-down interventions may include exercise, yoga, meditation, progressive muscle relaxation, and so on. We can't help our knee-jerk reflexes, but we also don't have to be victims of our non-thinking primitive brain. Victims are helpless, but you're not helpless. These are times where we need to not only be safe, but we also need to not let the stress of COVID-19 contaminate our relationships. So I wish you well, stay smart, and be safe. Thank you.